to fight the power like Big Chuck.
What's the status, 3?
I'm good, just making the world a better place, that's all.
Yin and yang, seasons change, everything seem the same. Yin and yang, up and down, everything seem to change. Yin and yang, seasons change, everything seem the same. Yin and yang, up and down, everything seem to change.
The time is now, no bezel. I am God, the flesh is just a vessel. Last warrior standing after the smoke settle. Word wizardry, and none of y'all is on my level. Religious dickheads live on their knees looking to the sky. I put a hole between your 2 ears, piercing your 3rd eye. Now the static in your attic, watching your soul fly. At nighttime I can hear so many souls cry. What's illegal is said to be a crime, but what's legal is more criminal than a convict's mind. Racist ideology, separatist paradigm. The yin and yang is a duality in my slang. When you battle the god, you're pissing in the wind, cutting off heads with words that come from within. Some say it's the ancestors I'm tapping in, or harness evil spirits from a djinn. It's just pure skills. Listen to my frequency as the god builds. No mason, but stack bricks up to the gills. Tartarian skills, pulling from the ether aura of Earth's energy field. Yield. Slow down and pump your brakes. Knowledge is wisdom and self, I put faith. To pray to a stranger, to me it's just a waste. I am God, one and only soul controller. My heart is more cold when I'm sober. If you think you have a fighting chance, it's over. I come crashing down like a landslide of boulders.
Yin and yang, seasons change, everything seem the same. Yin and yang, up and down, everything seem to change. Yin and yang, seasons change, everything seem the same. Yin and yang, up and down, everything seem to change. Yin and yang, seasons change, everything seem the same. Yin and yang, up and down, when everything seem to change. Kamikaze. Got 100 pounds of bomb on me out on Bible. If you sell it to me, you would die holy. I know creatures whose features change, shape shift, and the next day they don't look the same. I think we're pawns in this crooked game. I fill my heart with joy, but where do I put the pain? Where was my morals when I was pushing cane? In the gang doing 2 a days. If you a slave, it's because the system you behave. A beehive is a replica of the brain. A ant built the pyramids before the humans came. In a woman, the sun is furthest away. In the summer, the lightning comes before the thunder. Nothing comes before the mother. Moving Cain don't make you able to turn on your brother. I got a magazine, don't make me put you on the cover. Yin and yang, seasons change, everything seem the same. Yin and yang, up and down, everything seem to change. Yin and yang, seasons change, everything seem the same. Yin and yang, up and down, everything seem to change. Yin and yang, seasons change, everything seem the same. Yin and yang, up and down, everything seem to change. Yin and yang, seasons change, everything seem the same. Yin and yang, up and down, everything seem to change. Yin and yang, seasons change, everything seem to.
What's up, everybody? Just setting up everything here. All right, who's the imposter? This one. Another day. What's up, fools and tools? How you doing? Peace, Danny. Today we're going to get into one of my favorite topics. I was watching Bro Sanchez, and a couple of days ago I was talking about the fountain and the tree of life, and it just so happens that night Bro Sanchez spoke about that too, man, which is awesome. And it's wild because he was making beats on that video, and I said, let me fast forward it to see if he opened up. And exactly where I fast forwarded, the picture of the same picture I used of the water fountains came up. So we're going to get into some craft. So I'll set it off like with this little introduction, I guess. It says, witchcraft is not merely legendary. It was and is real. It is not extinct. It is alive and prospering. Since the last laws against witchcraft were repealed as recently as the 1950s, witches have been able to come out into the open and show themselves for what they are. And what are they? They are intelligent, community conscious, thoughtful men and women of today. Witchcraft is not a step backwards, a retreat into a more superstition-filled time. That's far from it. It is a step forward. Witchcraft is a religion far more relevant to the time than the vast majority of the established churches. It is the acceptance of personal and social responsibility. Now, I'm just going to stop it there. When I read this, I'm not saying any of this is all factual. This is how this guy sees it. I do agree that it is a religion. But anyway, let me finish this. Equal rights, feminism, ecology, attunement, brotherly or sisterly love, planetary care. These are all part and parcel of witchcraft, the old yet new religion. The above is certainly not what the average person thinks. I lost my spot. Oh. The above is certainly not what the average person thinks of in relation to witchcraft. No. The misconceptions are deeply ingrained from centuries of propaganda. How and why these misconceptions came about will be examined later. With the spreading news of witchcraft, what it is, its relevance in the world today comes the seeker. If there is this alternative to the conventional religions, this modern, oh wait, I skipped a line. Religions, modern, forward-looking approach to life known as witchcraft, then how does one become a part of it? There, for many, is the snag. General information on the old religion, valid information from the witches themselves, is available, but entry into the order is not. The vast majority of covens, groups of witches, are still wary enough that they do not throw open their doors and welcome all and sundry. They are happy to straighten the misconceptions out, but they do not Proselytize. This leads many would-be witches out of sheer frustration to simply declare themselves witches and start their own practices. In doing so, they draw on any and oftentimes all available sources. The danger here is that they do not know what is valid and relevant and what is not. Unfortunately, there are now many such covens operating with large chunks of ceremonial magic happily mixed in with smatterings of Satanism and odds and ends of voodoo together with Amerindian lore. What would that be? American Indian lore? Witchcraft is a very loose religion in terms of ritual practice, but it does not have certain basic tenets, and there are established ritual patterns to be adhered to. The purpose of this book is to give this necessary information. With it, you, as an individual or with like-minded friends as a group, can either do your own thing, happy in the knowledge that it has at least as valid as any of the more established traditions, or you can, on locating a coven, become an initial participant with training and knowledge as good as, if not better than, any of the other coven members. In Christianity, there are many denominations. I think that says Episcopalian, Roman Catholic, Baptists, and Methodists. So it is a witchcraft. Just as there is no one religion that is right for all people, there is no one denomination of witchcraft that is right for all witches. And that is how it should be. We are all different. Our backgrounds, both ethnic and social, vary greatly. It has often been said that there are many paths, or many chapters, I would say, but they all lead to the same center. With so many paths, then you are able to find the right one for you, the path you can travel comfortably and securely. To be of the most use to you, the information I give in this book, blah, blah, blah. I take examples from different traditions. Gardnerian, Saxon, Alexandrian, Scottish, giving you both general information and specifics. This is drawn from my more than 20 years active participation in the craft, and nearly twice that in the occult generally. By the time you have finished this training, presuming that you take it serious, you will be the equivalent of the 3rd degree in Gardnerian or similar. From there, you can then, as I have said, go on to other perhaps more specific training if you wish, in the sense of being tailored to a particular tradition. But from this present work, you can get all of the basics and build from an excellent foundation. This is a workbook. It is something you must work through. Consequently, rather than chapters, I have divided into lessons. At the end of each lesson, you will find workbook exercises. At the end of the book, in Appendix B, that's funny. Books are also designed after the human body, it looks like appendix. At the end of the book in the Appendix B, you will find examination questions for each lesson. Read through each lesson. Read and absorb. Read through 2 or 3 times if necessary. Go back and pay special attention to anything you find that was not easily absorbed. When you When you are finally happy with what you have learned, answer the examination questions. Answer in your own words, without referring back to the text. In this way, you can see what has sunk in and what has not. Do not go on to the next lesson until you are completely happy with the previous one. Answers to the questions are to be found in Appendix C. The book has been carefully put together in specific order. Don't try to jump ahead to more exciting lessons. Well, you may well find that you don't have the necessary basics for them. When you have carefully worked through the entire book, then will be the time to go back and dip into it as a refresher. This book is based on the very successful CX Wicca seminary, a Wicca seminary course that was enjoyed by over 1,000 students worldwide. From that experience, I know that the formula works, and it works well. I would hasten to add that while based on that course, this present work is not the same course. The CX Wicca course was designed specifically for the Saxon tradition. This is not. There is some duplication of the more general craft materials, yes, but not enough that a prior student of the seminary course could not also enjoy this book. So if you are a serious student of witchcraft or Wicca, either as a would-be practitioner or as one purely academically interested, then you are welcome. Then I welcome you. I hope you get as much out of this material as did my previous students. Bright blessings. So this is by Raymond BUCKLAND. He buckled. So we'll check it out. It goes into everything, as you can see. I skimmed through it. It goes in everything. Tarot cards, like everything. We're gonna see what this is about. All right. Lesson 1. The history and philosophy of witchcraft. All right, I had to get some coffee. All right, lesson 1, the history and philosophy of witchcraft. Before really getting into what witchcraft is, perhaps we should take a look back into what it was, the history of it. Witches should be aware of the roots, aware of how and why the persecutions came about, for instance, and where and when the Reemergence took place. There is a great deal to be learned from the past. It's true that much of history can seem dry and boring to many of us, but that is far from so. With the history of witchcraft, it is very much alive and filled with excitement. There have been many books written on the history of witchcraft. The vast majority have suffered from bias, as as will be explained shortly. But a few of the more recently published ones have told the story accurately, or as accurately as we can determine. The late Dr. Margaret Murray traced back and saw witchcraft's origin in Paleolithic times 25,000 years ago. Stop it. She saw it as a more or less unbroken line to the present, as a fully organized religion throughout Western Europe for centuries before Christianity. Recently, scholars have disputed much of what Marie says. She did, however, present some tangible evidence and much thought-provoking material as a probable development of religio magic rather than witchcraft per se. Her theories are still respected. Now, this is what kills me, is when they be like 25,000 years ago. Yeah, okay, come on. They're saying that cave people practice witchcraft, which, okay, maybe. 25,000 years ago, Paleolithic whoa man depended upon hunting to survive. Who believes that? Or who thinks that? To me, I would think you wouldn't really need to hunt. There'd be more fruits and stuff. But anyway, or fish. Only by success in the hunt could there be food to eat. Skins for warmth and shelter. Bones to fashion into tools and weapons. In those days, woe man, or woman and man, believed in a multitude of gods. Nature was overwhelming, out of awe and respect for the gusting wind, the violent lightning, the rushing stream. Woman, or woe man, or woman and man, ascribed to each a spirit, made each a deity, a god. This is what we call animism. A god controlled that wind. A god controlled the sky. A god controlled the waters. But most of all, a god controlled the all-important hunt. A god of hunting. Most of the animals hunted were horned. So, man pictured the god of hunting also as being horned. It was at this time that magic became mixed in with these first faltering steps of religion. The earliest form of magic was probably of the sympathetic variety. Similar things, it was thought, have similar effects, like attracts like, what? Who wrote this? Like attracts like. If a life-size clay model of a bison was made, then attacked and killed, then a hunt of the real bison should also end in a kill. Religio magical ritual. Hey, there's the Great Mother. Oops, what did that say? The religio magical ritual was born when one of the cavemen threw on a skin and antlered mask and played the part of the hunting god, directing the attack. There are still in existence cave paintings of such rituals together with the sphere-stabbed clay models of bison and bear. It is interesting to see how this form of sympathetic magic survived right through the relatively modern times. The Penobscot Indians, for example, less than 100 years ago, wore deer masks and horns when performing rituals for the same purpose. The Mandan Indians' buffalo dance is another example. Peace, peace, seriously, Ray. Along with this god of hunting, there was a goddess, though which came first, or rather they evolved together, we do not know. Yeah, that's like saying what came first, the chicken or the egg. Maybe the egg. And it is immaterial. If there were to be animals to hunt, there had to be fertility of those animals. If the tribe was to continue and there was a high morality rate in those days, that there had to be fertility of women. Again, sympathetic magic played a part. Clay models were made of the animals mating, and in an accompanying ritual, the members of the tribe would copulate. There are many carved and modeled representations of the fertility goddess extant, generally known as Venus figurines. The Venus of the Willendorf is one of the best known. Other examples include the Venus of Lossel and the Venuses of Surreal. Venuses of Surreal or Serial, I don't know, and less. These words, man, right here, or something else. Less pung, less pung. All are similar in that the feminine attributes of these figures are greatly overemphasized. They have heavy, pendulous breasts, large buttocks, and oftentimes swollen belly, as though pregnant, and exaggerated genitalia. There is invariably complete lack of identity with the rest of the body. The face is not defined in the arms and legs. Hold on. The face is not defined, and the arms and legs, if they're at all, are barely suggested. The reason is that man was solely concerned, woman and man were solely concerned with fertility aspect. Woman was the bearer and nurser of the young. The goddess was her representative as the great provider and comforter, Mother Nature and Mother Earth. With the development of agriculture, there was a further elevating of the goddess. She now watched over the fertility of the crops as well as of tribe and of animal. The year then fell naturally into two halves. In the summer, food could be grown, and so the goddess predominated. In the winter, women and man had to revert to hunting, and so the god predominated. The other deities of wind, thunder, lightning, etc. gradually fell into the background as of secondary importance. As woman and man developed, so did the religion, for that is what it had become, slowly and naturally. Woman and man spread across Europe, taking the gods along. As different countries developed, so the god and goddess acquired different names, though not always totally different, sometimes simply variations of the same name. Yet they were essentially the same deities. This is well illustrated in Britain, where in the south of England is found Cernunnos, or Cernunnos, literally the horned one. And to the north, the same god is known as Cerne, a shortened form, and is still another area the name has become Herne. By now, woman and man had learned not only to grow food, but also to store it for the winter. So hunting became less important. The horned god came now to be looked upon more as a god of nature generally, and a god of death and what lies after. The goddess was still of fertility and also of rebirth. For women and man had developed a belief in a life after death. This is evidence from the burial customs of the period. The gravity, the grave, the Gravetians or the Gravetians, something like that. 22,000 to 18,000 BCE were innovators here. They would bury their deceased with full clothing and ornaments and would sprinkle them with red ochre. It's iron peroxide or hematite. Hematite, yeah. To give back the appearance of life. So that's why they sprinkled that red ochre on there. Frequently, family members would be buried beneath the hearth. It says hearth, not earth. Frequently, family members would be buried beneath the hearth so that they might remain close to the family. A man would be buried with his weapons, perhaps even his dog, all that he might need in the afterlife. It is not difficult to see how a belief in a life after death came about. At the root of it were dreams. To quote from Witchcraft from the Inside, this next part I'm going to read is from a book called Witchcraft from the Inside by BUCKLAND and something in 1975. Quote, it says, "When men slept, he was to his family and friends like one of the dead. True, in sleep he occasionally moved and he breathed, but otherwise he was lifeless. Yet when he awoke, he could tell of having been out hunting in the forest. He could tell of having met and talked with friends who really were dead. The others, to whom he spoke, could believe him, for they too had experienced such dreams. They knew he had not actually set foot outside the cave, but at the time, they knew he was not lying. It seemed that the world of sleep was as the material world. There were trees and mountains, animals and people. Even the dead were there, seemingly unchanged many years after death. In this other world, then, man must need the same things he needs in this world." With the development of different rituals for fertility, for success in the hunt, for seasonal needs, there necessarily developed a priesthood, a select few more able to bring results when directing the rituals. In some areas of Europe, though probably not as generally widespread as Murray indicated, these ritual leaders, or priests and priestesses, became known as the Wicca, the wise ones. In fact, by the time of the Anglo-Saxon kings in England, the king would never think of acting on any important matter without consulting the Witan, the Council of Wise Ones. And indeed, the Wicca did have to be wise. They not only led the religious rites, but also had to have knowledge of herbal lore, magic, and divination. They had to be a doctor, lawyer, magician, priest. To the people, the Wicca were plenipotentiaries. I think it's plenipotentiaries, something like that, between them and the gods. But at the great festival, they almost became like gods themselves. With the coming of Christianity, there was not the immediate mass conversion that is often suggested. Christianity was a man-made religion. It had not evolved gradually and naturally over thousands of years, as we have seen that the old religion did. Whole countries were classed as Christians, when in actuality, it was only the rulers who had adopted the new religion, and often only superficially at that. Throughout Europe, generally the old religion, in its many and varied forms, was still prominent for the first 1,000 years of Christianity. An attempt at mass conversion was made by Pope Gregory the not so great. He thought that one way to get the people to attend the new temples, the new Christian churches, was to have them built on the sites of the older temples, where the people were accustomed to gathering together to worship. He instructed his bishops to smash any idols and to sprinkle the temples with holy water and rededicate them. To a large extent, Gregory was successful. Scumbag Gregory, huh? Yet the people were not quite as gullible as he thought. When the first Christian churches were being constructed, the only artisans available to build them were from among the pagans themselves. In decorating the churches, these stone masons and woodcarvers very cleverly incorporated figures of their own deities. In this way, even if they were forced to attend the churches, the people could still worship their own gods there. There are many of these figures still in existence today. The goddess is usually depicted as very much a fertility deity with legs spread wide and with greatly enlarged genitalia. Such figures are usually referred to as Sheila Nagigs. The god is known as a horned head surrounded by foliage, known as a foilet mask, and also sometimes referred to as Jack of the Green or Robin o' the Woods. Incidentally, these carvings of the old god should not be confused with gargoyles. The latter are the hideous faces and figures carved on the four corners of church towers to frighten away demons. In those early days when Christianity was slowly growing in strength, the old religion, the Wiccans and other pagans, was one of its rivals. It is only natural to want to get rid of a rival, and the church pulled no punches to do just that. It had frequently been said that the gods of an old religion become the devils of the new. This was certainly the case here. The god of the old religion was a horned god, so apparently was the Christian's devil. Obviously then, reasoned the church, the pagans were devil worshippers. This type of reasoning is used by the church even today. Missionaries were particularly prone to label all primitive tribes upon whom they stumbled as devil worshippers, just because the tribe worshipped the god or gods other than the Christian one. It would not matter that the people were good, happy, often morally and ethnically better living than the vast majority of Christians. They had to be converted. The charge of devil worship, so often leveled at witches, is ridiculous. the devil is a purely Christian invention, there being no mention of him as such before the New Testament. In fact, it is interesting to note that the whole concept of evil associated with the devil is due to an error in translation. The original Old Testament Hebrew, ha-Satan, and the New Testament Greek diablos simply means opponent or adversary. It should be remembered that the idea of dividing the supreme power into two, good and evil, is the idea of an advanced and complex civilization. The old gods, through their gradual development, were very much human, in that they would have their good side and their bad side. It was the idea of an all good, all loving deity which necessitated an antagonist. In simple language, you can only have the color white if there is an opposite color black to which you can compare it. This view of an all good God was developed by Zoroaster or Zarathustra in Persia in the 7th century BCE. The idea later spread westward and was picked up in Mithraism and later in Christianity. Let me jump back up here. I want to read this part. There were other more definite adoptions from the old religions, especially in the early formative years of Christianity. The idea of the Trinity, for instance, was taken from the old Egyptian triad. Osiris, Isis, and Horus became God, Mary, and Jesus. December 25th, as the birth date of Jesus, was borrowed from Mithraism, which also believed in the second coming and indulged in the eating of God. In many religions of the ancient world were found immaculate conceptions and sacrifice of the God for the salvation of the people. As Christianity gradually grew in strength, I had to make sure I was unmuted. As Christianity gradually grew in strength, so the old religion was slowly pushed back until about the time of the Reformation. It only existed in the outlying country districts. Non-Christians at that time became known as pagans and heathens. Pagans comes from the Latin pagani and simply means people who live in the country. The word heathen means one who dwells on the heath. So the terms were appropriate for non-Christians at that time, but they bore no connotations of evil, and their use today in a derogatory sense is quite incorrect. As the centuries passed, the smear campaign against non-Christians continued. What the Wiccans did was reversed and used against them. They did magic to promote fertility and increase the crops. The church claimed that they made women and cattle barren and blighted the crops. No one apparently stopped to think that if the witches really did what they were accused of, they would suffer equally themselves. After all, they too had to eat to live. An old ritual act for fertility was for the villagers to go to the fields in the light of the full moon and dance around the fields astride pitchforks, poles, and broomsticks, riding them like hobby horses. They would leap high in the air as they danced, to show the crops how high to grow, a harmless enough form of sympathetic magic. But the church claimed not only that they were working against the crops, but that they actually flew through the air on their poles, surely the work of the devil. We'll go back up and read this other part in a minute. In 1484, Pope Innocent VIII. Yeah, V is 5, right? Yeah. Okay. In 1484, Pope Innocent VIII produced his bull against witches. 2 years later, two infamous German monks, Heinrich de Torres Kramer and Jacob Sprenger, produced their incredible concoction of anti-witchery, the Malleus Maleficarum. Oh, but the witch hammer. Yeah, Maleficarum. The Malleus Maleficarum. In this book, definite instructions were given for the prosecution of witches. However, when the book was submitted to the theological faculty of the University of Cologne, the appointed censor at that time, the majority of the professors refused to have anything to do with it. Kramer and Sprenger, nothing daunted, forged the approbation of the whole faculty, a forgery that was not discovered until 1898. Gradually, the hysteria kindled by Kramer and Sprenger began to spread. It spread like a fire, flashing up suddenly in unexpected places, spreading quickly across the whole of Europe. For nearly 300 years, the fires of the persecutions raged. Humankind had gone mad. The inhabitants of entire villages, where one or two witches were suspected of living, were put to death with the cry, "Destroy them all, the Lord will know his own." In 1586, the Archbishop of Treves decided that the local witches had caused the recent severe winter. By dint of frequent torture, a confession was obtained, and 120 men and women were burned to death on this charge that they had interfered with the elements. Wow. And you know what's wild, man? These very people today are messing with the elements. Since fertility was of great importance, fertility of crops and beasts, there were certain sexual rites enacted by the Wicca. As followers of the nature religion, these sexual rites seem to have been given unnecessary prominence by the Christian judges, who seemed to delight in prying into the most minute of details concerning them. The rites of the craft were joyous in essence. It was an extremely happy religion, and so was, in many ways, totally incomprehensible to the gloomy inquisitors and reformers who sought to suppress it. Let's jump back up here real quick. The malice maleficarum. Yeah, this one's different. The malleus maleficarum. Whatever, man. The malice. I can't give up, man. I have to be able to say that. Maleficarum. It's UTN. I don't know. That's weird. Maleficarum, anyway, is in 3 parts, the first of which treats the 3 necessary concomitants of witchcraft are the devil, a witch, of Almighty God. Here the reader is the first admonished. Here the reader is first admonished, that not to believe in witchcraft is heresy. Points are then covered on whether children can be generated by incubi and succubi, witches, copulation with the devil, whether witches can sway the minds of men to love or hatred, whether witches can habitate the powers of generation or obstruct the venereal act, whether witches may work some prestidigitatory illusion so that the male organ appears to be entirely removed and separate from the body, various ways that the witches may kill the child conceived in the womb. The second part, treating methods by which works of witchcraft are wrought and what it says, wrought and directed, and how they may be successfully annulled and dissolved. Deals with the several methods by which devils through witches entice and allure the innocent to increase of that horrid craft and company, the way whereby a formal pact with evil is made. How they transport from place to place, how witches impede and prevent the power of procreation. Hoive, that's the word, as it were, they deprive man of his viral member. How witch midwives commit horrid crimes when they either kill children or offer them to devils, and most accused wives. No, the most accursed wives. How witches injure cattle, raise and stir up hailstorms and tempests, and cause lightning to blast both men and beasts, then follow remedies for the above. The third part of the book, relating to the judicial proceedings in both the ecclesiastical and civil courts against witches and indeed all heretics, is perhaps the most important. It is here that she order of the trial is dealt with. Who proper judges for the trial of witches is the first question. It goes on to the method of initiating a process, the solemn adjuration and re-examination of witnesses, the quality and condition of witnesses, whether mortal enemies may be admitted as witnesses. Here we are told that the testimony of men of low repute and criminals, and of servants against their masters is admitted. It is to be noted that a witness is not to be disqualified because of every sort of enmity. We learn that in the case of witchcraft, virtually anybody may give evidence, though in any other case it would not be admitted. Even the evidence of young children was admissible. It is obvious from the above that the authors of the Malleus Maleficarum had certain obsessions. A large number of the chapters are, for example, concerned with sexual aspects of witchcraft. Who were the authors of this infamous work? They were two Dominicans named Jacob Sprenger and that other dude, Heinrich Kramer. That was odd. That little part I just read was way off of what we were reading. A rough estimate of the total number of people burned, hung, or tortured to death on the charge of witchcraft is 9 million. Obviously, not all of these were followers of the old religion. This had been a wonderful opportunity for some to get rid of anyone against whom they bore a grudge. An excellent example of the way in which the hysteria developed and spread is found in the case of the so-called witches of Salem, Massachusetts. It is doubtful if any of the victims hung there were really followers of the old religion. Just possibly Bridget Bishop and Sarah Good were, but the others were nearly all pillars of the local church up until the time the hysterical children cried out on them. But what about Satanism? The witches were called worshippers of the devil. Was there any truth to this? No. Yet, many of the charges, there was reason for the belief. The early church was extremely harsh on its people. It not only governed the peasants' way of worship, but also their way of life and love. Even between married couples, sexual intercourse was frowned upon. It was felt that there should be no joy from the act, it being permitted solely for procreation. Intercourse was illegal on Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays for 40 days before Christmas and a similar time before Easter. For 3 days prior to receiving communion, and from the time of conception to 40 days after parturition. In other words, there was a grand total of approximately 2 months in the year only when it is possible to have sexual relations with your spouse, but without deriving pleasure from it, of course. It was no wonder that this, together with other such harshness, led to a rebellion. Albeit a clandestine one. The people, this time the Christians, finding that their lot was not bettered by praying to the so-called God of love, decided to pray to his opposite instead. If God wouldn't help them, perhaps the devil would. So Satanism came into being. A parody of Christianity, a mockery of it. It was a revolt against the harshness of the church. As it turned out, the devil did not help the poor peasant either, but at least he was showing his disdain for the authorities. He was going against the establishment. It did not take Mother Church long to find out about this rebellion. Satanism was anti-Christian. Witchcraft was also, in their eyes, anti-Christian. Ergo, witchcraft and Satanism were one and the same. So the church says. In 1604, King James passed his Witchcraft Act, but this was replaced in 1736. It was replaced by It was replaced by an act that stated that there was no such thing as witchcraft, and to pretend to have occult powers was to face being charged with fraud. By the late 17th century, the surviving members of the craft had gone underground into hiding. For the next 300 years, to all appearances, witchcraft was dead, but a religion which had lasted 20,000 years, in effect, did not die so easily. In small groups, surviving covens of times only of family members, the craft continued. In the literary field, Christianity had a heyday. Printing had been invented and developed during the persecutions. Therefore, anything published on the subject of witchcraft was written from the church's point of view. Later, books had only these early works to which to refer, so not unnaturally, they were heavily biased against the old religion. In fact, it was not until 1921 when Dr. Margaret Alice Murray produced The Witch Cult in Western Europe that anyone looked at witchcraft with anything like an unbiased light. From studying the records of the trials of the Middle Ages, Murray, an eminent anthropologist and then professor of Egyptology at London University, picked up the clues that seemed to her to indicate that there was a definite, organized, pre-Christian religion behind all the hogwash of the Christian allegations. Although her theories finally prove a little far-fetched in some areas, she did indeed strike some chords. Wicca means as far-reaching and widespread as Murray suggested, nor was there proof of a direct, unbroken line of descent from the cave people. But there can be no doubt that it did exist as an indubitable religious cult. Is sporadic as to time and place, she enlarged on her views in the second book, The God of the Witches, in 1931. In England, in 1951, the last laws against witchcraft were finally repealed. This cleared the way for the witches themselves to speak up. In 1954, Dr. Gerald Bruceau Gardner, in his book Witchcraft Today, said, in effect, what Margaret Murray has theorized is quite true. Witchcraft was a religion, and in fact it still is. I know because I am a witch myself. He went on to tell how craft was still very much alive, albeit underground. He was the first to give the witches' side of the story. At the time of his writings, it seemed to him that the craft was rapidly declining and perhaps only hanging on by a thread. He was greatly surprised when, as a result of the circulation of his books, he began to hear from many covens throughout Europe. Faceplant, just checking the chat real quick. What's up, Marcel? Dom, what's up? Lonnie, peace to the chat. It's good to see everyone here. All right, let me continue. Let me see. Why did it start like this? All still happily practicing their beliefs. Yet these surviving covens, they did not wish to take the chance of coming out in the open. Who was to say the persecutions could not start again? For a while, Jared Gardner was the single voice speaking for the craft. He claimed to have initiated into an English coven, near Christ Church just before the start of the Second World War. He was excited by what he found. He had spent a lifetime in the study of religio magic and now was a part of it. He wanted to rush out and tell everyone, but he was not allowed to. Finally, though, after much pleading, he was allowed to present some of the true witch beliefs and practices by weaving them into a novel. High Magic's Aid, published in 1949. It took 5 more years for him to persuade the coven to let him do the factual treatment. Complementing Witchcraft Today, his third book was published in 1959 titled The Meaning of Witchcraft. From his lifetime study of religion and magic, Gardner felt that what he found as the remains of witchcraft was incomplete and in places inaccurate. For millennia, the old religion had been a purely oral tradition. It was not until the persecutions with the separating of covens and the resultant loss of intercommunication that anything was put into writing. At that time, when the witches were having to meet in the shadows, the rituals were finally written down in what became known as the Book of Shadows. The book was then copied and recopied as it passed over the years, from convent leader to convent leader. It was only natural that errors would creep in. Gardner took the rituals of the coven to which he belonged, a basically English/Celtic group, and rewrote them as he felt they should have been. This form then became known as Gardnerian witchcraft. In recent years, there have been many wild and wonderful theories and accusations advanced from Gardner made up the whole thing, till he commissioned Aleister Crowley to write the Book of Shadows for him. They're saying he wrote that book for Aleister Crowley. Such charges scarcely bear the dignity of a response, but details of Gardner's preparatory work can be found in Stuart Farrer's What Witches Do and 8 Sabbaths for Witches. However, whatever one's feeling about Gardner, whatever one's belief in the Wicca's origins, all present-day witches and would-be witches owe him a tremendous debt of gratitude for having had the courage to stand up and speak out for witchcraft. It is because of him that we can enjoy the craft in its many forms today. In America, the first witch to stand up recognized was myself, Raymond Buckland. At that time, there were no covens visible in this country, initiated in Scotland, birthed by Gardner's high priestess. I set out to emulate Gardner insofar as to try to straighten the long-held misconceptions and to show the craft for what it truly is. Soon, Symbolic arrived on the scene, followed by Gavin and Giovanni Frost and the other individuals. It was an exciting time as more and more covens and many different traditions came into the open, or at least made themselves known. Today, the would-be witch has a wide selection from which to choose. Gardnerian, Celtic, which is many variations, Saxon, Alexandrian, Druidic, Elgard, Norse, Irish, Scottish, Sicilian, Huna, etc. I think that's Huna or Huna. Details of some of these different traditions are given in the appendix. That there are so many and such varied branches, denominations, or traditions of witchcraft is admirable. As I said in the introduction to this work, we are all different. It is not surprising that there are no one religion that suits all people in the same way. Then there can be no one type of witchcraft to suit all witches. Some like lots of ritual, while some are more simplicity. Some are from Celtic backgrounds, others from Saxon, Scots, Irish, Italian, or any of a number of others. Some favor a matriarch. Still others seek a balance. Some prefer to worship in a group coven, while others are for solitary worship. With the large number of different denominations, then, there is now more likelihood of everyone finding a path they can travel in comfort. Religion has come a long way from its humble beginnings in the caves of prehistory. Witchcraft, as one of the facet of religions, has also come a long way. It has grown to become a worldwide religion, legally recognized. Today across America, it is not all unusual to find open Wiccan festivals and seminars taking place in such unlikely places as family campgrounds and motels, such as the Holiday Inn. Witches appear on television and radio talk shows. They are written up in local and national newspapers and magazines. Witchcraft courses are given in college. Even in the armed forces is Wicca recognized as a valid religion. Department of the Army pamphlet number 165-13, Religious Requirements and Practices of Certain Selected Groups, a handbook for chaplains, includes instructions as to the religious rights of witches right alongside those of Islamic groups. I think that says psych groups. Christian heritage, Indian heritage, Japanese and Jewish groups. Yes, witchcraft has a place in past history. And have a definite place in the future. Okay. So what do people think so far? I'm going to get into the philosophy of witchcraft in 1 second. I want to check the chat out real quick. You know, I know this ain't for everyone. For me, I'm into witchcraft and stuff. The earth witchcraft and would I get into dark witchcraft? I probably wouldn't use it, but I would like to know of it in case I need to defend myself against dark witchcraft. That's what I see a problem with a lot of religious people. They talk all that shit about the dark side. But I think a lot of religion is the dark side. I will be changing the title again. Like I did yesterday, I had to go and change it. But let's get into this philosophy. The philosophy of witchcraft. The craft is a religion of love and joy. It is not full of the gloom of Christianity, with its ideas of original sin, with salvation and happiness possibly only in the afterlife, right? The music of witchcraft is joyful and lively, again contrasting with the dirge-like hymns of Christianity. Why is this? Why are Wiccans more content, more warm and happy? Much of it has to do with their empathy with nature. Early people lived hand in hand with nature through necessity. They were a part of nature, not separate from it. An animal was a brother or sister, as was a tree. Woman and man tended the fields, and in return received food for the table. Sure, they killed animals for food, but then many animals kill other animals in order to eat. In other words, woman and man were part of the natural order of things, not separate from it, not above it. Modern woman and man has lost much, if not all, of that closeness. Civilization has cut them off. But not so the witch. Even today, in this mechanized, super sophisticated world that this branch of nature, woman and man, has created, the Wicca retain their ties with Mother Nature. In books such as Brett Bolton's The Secret Plants, I'm going to have to check that out, we are told of the incredible, extraordinary health reaction of plants to kindness. Let me write this book down real quick. The Secret Power of Plants. Brett Bolton. All right. Health reaction of plants to kindness, of how they feel and react to both good and evil, how they express love, fear, hate. Sometimes that might be born in mind by vegetarians when they become overcritical of meat eaters, perhaps. This is no new discovery. Witches have always spoken kindly to plants. It is not unusual to see a witch walking through the woods stop and hug a tree. It is not peculiar to see a witch throw off her shoes and walk barefoot across a ploughed field. This is all part of keeping in touch with nature, of not losing our heritage. If you ever feel completely drained, if you ever are angry or tense, go out and sit against a tree. Choose a good, solid tree, oak or pine are good, and sit down on the ground with your back straight, pressed up against the trunk. Close your eyes and relax. You will feel a gradual change come over you. Your tension, your anger, your tiredness will disappear. It will seem to drain out of you. Then, in its place, you will feel a growing warmth, a feeling of love and comfort. It comes from the tree. Accept it and be glad. Sit there until you feel completely whole again. Oops, didn't want to do that. Okay. Then before leaving, stand with your arms about the tree and thank it. Take time to stop and appreciate all that is about you. Smell the earth, the trees, the leaves. Absorb their energies and send them yours. One of the contributing to our isolation from the rest of nature is the insulation of our shoes. Whenever you can, go barefoot. Make contact with the earth. Feel it, absorb it, show your respect and love for nature, and live with nature. In the same way, live with other people. There are many whom you meet in the course of your life who could benefit from their encounter with you. Always be ready to help another in any way you can. Don't ignore anyone or look the other way when you know they need help. If you can give assistance, give it gladly. At the time, do not seek to take charge of another's life. We all have to live our own lives. But if you are able to give help, to advice, to point the way, then do so. It will then be up to the other to decide how to proceed from there. The main tenet of witchcraft, the Wiccan Rede, I think that's what that says, R-E-D-E, Rede, or Rede, anyway, is and it harm none. Do what thou wilt. Do what you will, but don't do anything that will harm another. It's as simple as that. In April 1974, the Council of American Witches adopted a set of principles of Wiccan belief. I personally subscribe to those principles and list them here. Read them carefully. 1. We practice rites to attune ourselves with the natural rhythm of life forces marked by the phases of the moon and seasonal quarters and cross quarters. 2. We recognize that our intelligence gives us a unique responsibility towards our environment. We seek to live in harmony with nature, in ecological balance, offering fulfillment to life and consciousness within an evolutionary concept. 3. We acknowledge a depth of power far greater than that apparent to the average person. Because it is far greater than ordinary, it is sometimes called supernatural, but we see it as lying within that which is naturally potential to all. 4. We conceive of the creative power in the universe as manifesting through polarity, as masculine and feminine, and that the same creative power lies in all people and functions through the interaction of the masculine and feminine. We value neither above the other, knowing each to be supportive to the other. We value sex as pleasure, as the symbol and embodiment of life, and as one of the sources of energy used in magical practice and religious worship. 5. We recognize both outer worlds and inner, or psychological worlds, sometimes known as the spiritual world, the collective unconscious, inner planes, etc. And we see in the interaction of these two dimensions the basis for paranormal phenomena and magical exercises. We neglect neither dimension for the other, seeing both as necessary for our fulfillment. 6. We do not recognize any authoritarian hierarchy, but do honor those who teach, respect those who share their greater knowledge and wisdom, and acknowledge those who have courageously given up of themselves in leadership. 7. We see religion, magic, and wisdom in living as being united in the way one views the world and lives within it. A world view and philosophy of life, which we identify as witchcraft, the wicked way. 8. Calling oneself witch does not make a witch, but neither does heredity itself, nor the titles, degrees, or initiations. A witch seeks to control the force within her or himself that make life possible in order to live wisely and well without harm to others and in harmony with nature. 9. We believe in the affirmation and fulfillment of life, in a continuation of evolution and development of consciousness, giving meaning to the universe we know and our personal role within it. 10. Our only animosity towards Christianity or towards any other religion or philosophy of life is to the extent that its institutions have claimed to be the only way and have sought to deny freedom to others and to suppress other ways of religious practice and belief. 11. As American witches, we are not threatened by debates on the history of the craft, the origins of various terms, the legitimacy of various aspects of different traditions. We are concerned with our present and our future. 12. We do not accept the concept of absolute evil, nor do we worship any entity known as or the devil, as defined by the Christian tradition. We do not seek power through the suffering of others, nor accept that personal benefit can be derived only by denial to another. 13. We believe that we should seek within nature that which can't read today. We believe that we should seek within nature that which is contributory to our health and well-being. Within. And I'll probably end it after I read The Power Within. I mean, not end the live, but end reading. Ducks to eat, huh? Alright. The Power Within. There are many people who seem very obviously to have some sort of psychic power, for want of a better term. There are the sort who know that the telephone is going to get the fuck out of here. Yo. This book has been just speaking on a lot of stuff I do, which is blowing my mind. There are the sort who know that the telephone is going to ring before it actually does, and who is on the other end of the line before they pick up the receiver. People like Uri Geller are able to demonstrate this power in more dramatic ways by bending keys and teaspoons without physical contact. Others have visions or seem to be able to make things happen. Often these people have a peculiar affinity with animals. You may not be like this. You may well feel somewhat envious of such people, yet you shouldn't feel that way, for the power that these people have, and it is a very real power, is inherent in all of us. To be sure, that power comes out quite naturally in some, but that doesn't mean that it can't be brought out in others. The aura, which we which will be dealt with extensively in a later lesson, is a visible manifestation of this power. Those able to see the aura, and you will become one of these, can see it around everyone. Again, demonstrating that power is within everyone. Witches have always had the power and used it. Most of them seem to have it naturally, but not all by any means. For that reason, the witches have their own ways of drawing it out, ways that are especially effective. This next part I'm going to read, it says, is from the magazine Everyday Science and Mechanics. September of 1932 appeared the following report. Human tissue produce deadly radiations. Rays emitted from human blood, fingertips, noses, and eyes kill yeast and other microorganisms, according to Professor Otto Rahn, working at Cornell University. Yeast, such as used in making bread, was killed in 5 minutes merely by the radiation from the fingertips of one person. When a quartz plate, says VC inch thick, was interposed, it took 15 minutes for the yeast to die. In tests of fingers, it was found that the right hand was stronger than the left, even in left-handed people. Professor Rahn continued his experiments and published results in Invisible Radiations of Organisms in Berlin, 1936. Speaking at a meeting of the American Association for the Advancement of Science, he explained how the rays seem to come out mostly strongly from the fingertips, the palms of the hands, soles of the feet, the armpits, the sex organs, and in women only, the breasts. Dr. Harold S. Burr of Yale University spoke of similar experiments and conclusions when addressing the Third International Cancer Congress. Witches have always believed in this power coming from the body and have developed ways to increase it, collect it, and use it to do what we term magic. Professor Rahn and Burr show the destructive use of this power, but it can be used equally effectively constructively. Here is a simple experiment you can try with a friend. Have the friend strip to the waist and sit with his back to you. Now, extend your hand with the palm down and the fingers together, straight out to the point as his or her neck or her back. Keep the tips of the fingers an inch or so away from the surface of the skin. Now slowly move your hand up and down along the line of the spine. Try to keep your arms straight and concentrate your thoughts on sending all your energies out along the arm into your hand and fingers. You will probably get quite a reaction from your friend as your power makes contact. He might feel a strong tingling sensation, heat, or even what seems like a cool breeze, but he will feel something. That's interesting because, you know, they got palm readers. And also, that's wild, man. It probably run your thought signal is going up the spine. Experiment. Experiment. Try this with the left hand with the fingers together at different distances from his back. See if he knows where your hand is. Does he feel it moving up when it is moving up, down when moving down? You will find that the intensity of the power varies dependent upon your physical health and also upon the time of the day and the day of the month. Keep records and notes when it is the best time for you to generate. So, should I read the next chapter? Spells and charms? I think I will. Spells and charms. Spells and charms are part of witchcraft, most commonly used by the solitary witch. Spells are done by full covens, certainly, but there are very effective ones that can be done by the individual. The most important ingredient is the spell in the spell is emotion. You must want something to happen. You must want it with all your being. And through that desire, you will drive all your power into the magic. This is the reason that it is far better to do magic for yourself than to ask someone else to do it for you. If you are doing a spell for another person, there is no way that you are going to put that same amount of emotional drive into it as that they could. Spells and charms are not necessarily tied in with the religious side of witchcraft. To work a spell within the circle, immediately following an esbat rite would almost certainly be extraordinarily effective. Yet, you can cast a simple circle and work your spell at any other time and still get results. Actual mechanics of casting a spell, of working magic, well, let's leave that until you are somewhat better versed in the religious side. After all, witchcraft is a religion. Answer questions now? It is often helpful to examine our feelings, attitudes toward a philosophy or topic we are interested in. What is your understanding, feeling of witchcraft? Examine your impressions, preconceptions, biases, etc. How have your reactions changed regarding witchcraft through your life? Marcel said breathing exercises have helped him a lot. That's awesome. Yeah, I noticed that too in breathing, man. I do that here and there myself, and it does help, believe it or not. I thought it was bullshit till I did it. It's something about letting that air into your lungs. It even helps your thinking and everything. It's like it's almost like the body's been lacking fucking oxygen or something. Let's see. I'm gonna drop those stinky linky. Yeah, acupuncture is cool, especially when you're using a tuning fork with it. Can't believe the other day I found that tablet in the park. Huge tablet too. It's one of the big tablets. It's probably as big as a freaking laptop. I'm gonna see if, maybe I might go into this second lesson. What do people think of this book so far? I like it. I'm surprised. I thought it was gonna be poopies. Let me see. I'll wait a few minutes to see if people want to come up. If not, I'll probably keep going. Yeah, I don't even like going to doctors and none of that shit, man. I refuse. I have yet to go to a doctor and they don't mention treatments. You know, I'm trying to find a what do you call that? A shaman that could teach me how to whip up. You know, I'm all about the earth right now and have been for the last 7, 8 years. Crystals and learning a lot of stuff on frequency and energy. And next is about growing and giving your energy. It's like when you have a garden, Marcel will tell you, you know, my friend, I had a little talk and I said, or actually, this was spoken on one of my live streams too, that it's not just the earth growing it, it's you sharing your energy with the plants too. You know, and that's why I've mentioned many times that I want to try putting the seed in my mouth before I plant it, because I've heard that the plant will grow to your DNA and allegedly grow and give your body what it lacks or something like that. How true it is, I have no clue. Well, I guess I'll read this part. Put the link down. That people can still come up. Lesson 2, beliefs. Since we speak a lot about, you know, people say, Chuck, you believe you're God? No, I don't believe. I know I'm God. Fuck out of here with that belief. As different as are the many religions of the world, in essence, they are all the same. It has frequently been said that they are simply different paths, all leading to a common center, and this is true. The basic teachings are all the same. All that different is the method of teaching. There are different rituals, different festivals, and even different names for the gods. Notice that I say different names for the gods rather than simply different gods. What's that dude's name? Friedrich Max Muller traced religion back to an increasingly, wow, it's way off, and ineradicable, what's that? I never heard that word. Ineradicable feeling of dependence upon some higher power that was innate in the human mind. And Sir James George Frazer, in The Golden Buff, defines religion as being a propitiation or consolation of powers superior to man, which are believed to direct and control the course of nature and of human life. The higher power, the ultimate deity, is some genderless force which is so far beyond our comprehension that we can have only the vaguest understanding of its being. Yet we know that it's there, and frequently we wish to communicate with it. Yeah, look within yourself, you'll communicate just fine. As individuals, we wish to thank it for what we have and to ask it for what we need. How do we do this with such an incomprehensible power? In the 6th century BC, the philosopher Xenophon remarked on the fact that deities are determined by ethnic factors. He pointed out that the black Ethiopians naturally saw their gods as Negroid, whereas the Thracians' gods were white, with red hair and gray eyes. He cynically commented that if horses and oxen carved, they would probably represent their gods in animal form. About 750 years later, Maximus of Tyre said much the same thing, that men worship their gods under whatever form seems fit. Whatever form seems intelligible to them. In Lesson 1, you saw how, in their early development, people came to worship two principal deities, the horned god of hunting and the goddess of fertility. These then were our representations, our understandable forms of the supreme power which actually rules life. In the various areas of woman and man's development, we see that these representations became, for the ancient Egyptians, Isis and Osiris; for the Hindus, Shiva and Parvati; for the Christians, Jesus and Mary. In virtually all instances, there were exceptions. The ultimate deity was equated with both masculine and feminine, broken down into a god and a goddess. This would seem most natural, since everywhere in nature is found this duality. With the development of the craft as we know it, there was also, as we have seen, this duality of God and the goddess. Deities' names. As mentioned in Lesson 1, the names for the deities would vary depending upon locality, and not only locality. With the goddess, especially the question of names could become quite involved. For example, a young man with problems in his love life, might worship the goddess in her aspect of a beautiful young woman. Yet a woman in childbirth might feel more at ease relating to the goddess as a more mature, middle-aged female. Then again, an elderly person would tend to think the goddess as herself being elderly. So there we have three separate and very distinct aspects of the same goddess, each having been given a different name, yet all being the same deity. As if that weren't enough, the deities would have names known to the general worshippers, but also other secret names, often 2 or 3, known only to the priest. Only to the priesthood. This was a protective measure. In witchcraft today, there are many traditions that continue this multiplicity of names. Traditions with degree systems, for example, frequently use different deity names in their higher degrees than in their lower. Gardnerian is one example. So we have this idea of an ultimate deity and incomprehensible power. And in trying to relate to it, we have split it into two main entities, a male and a female. To these we have given names. It would seem that by so doing, we are limiting what is, by definition, limitless. But so long as you know and keep always in the back of your mind that it is limitless, you will find that this is the easiest path to follow. After all, It is pretty difficult to pray to a thing, a supreme power, without being able to picture someone in your mind. In Judaism, there is this problem to an extent. Though Judaism is a theocentric faith, the supreme power, there has a name which may not be uttered and may not be written. Yahweh is vocalized form often used, but it is derived from the four letters Y, H, W, and H. The divine tetragrammaton, signifying the name too sacred to be pronounced. In Christianity, there was developed the use of a human male, Jesus, to play the part of the Son of God, the Christ, thus giving a recognizable form to deity, a form to which the followers could relate. With the addition of Mary, the mother figure, the duality was complete. It was much more comfortable to pray to Jesus. Maybe it's supposed to say though, I don't know. As an extension of God / supreme being, yet all the time knowing that there was that indefinable, the incomprehensible beyond him. Jesus and Mary were the intermediaries. So in witchcraft, those we know as God and the goddess are our intermediaries. Different traditions use different names, as already mentioned. There are the names used for the understandable forms of the supreme power, the ultimate deity. They are the deities honored and worshipped in the witchcraft rites. So we're going to read this little part about Pan, a Greek nature and fertility deity, originally native to Arcadia. As such, he is god of goat herds and flocks, and is usually represented as a very sensual creature, a shaggy human to the loins with pointed ears, goat horns, and legs. He wanders among the mountains and valleys, pursuing nymphs or leading them in their dances. He is quite musical and is the inventor of the syrinx, or pipes of Pan. He is considered to be a son of Hermes. Putnam's Concise Mythological Dictionary. Yeah. All right, I'll get into this stuff. The god and goddess of witchcraft. Thanks for coming by, Crystal Witten. Have a great day. Puzzle breaking. Peace. Crystals, what's good? What should I do? It's been 2 hours of reading. I could keep reading. I dropped the link. It's interesting to me. I think this is going to be a pretty good book. It's a lot of pages to it. 261. When I had just opened it to check it out, I ended up on a page with a lot of symbolism. Yeah, look at this first line. It says, a general complaint about Christianity by witches is that there is the worship of the male deity to the exclusive of the female. They also rip the female out and put the devil. I don't know what page I left off on. Probably that 18. I closed it up, so I don't know. I should have written it down. I was going to get into the Platonic solids, but I don't know. I've been reading 2 hours. I'm just going to open the panel up. Bum bum boogie. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, it didn't feel like 2 hours, right? Fools and tools. I also didn't want to stop. I was going to keep going, but I want to see if anyone's going to come up. Probably not. But tomorrow I'll continue where I left off. It's rare that I find books that I get into with good information, and this is pretty good. I thought it was going to actually, like, I got to find a good book that teaches the use of witchcraft in more of you know, Peace Charlotte's Web in more of a is that Bex? In more of a earthly way. But I will be looking up that book. Matter of fact, let's take a look at it now. What is it called? I wrote it down. What? Dude, I know I just wrote it down. Yo, am I bugging? Oh, here it is. By Brett Sutton, The Secret Power of Plants. Man, maybe I should have kept reading. Fucking everyone dipped out. I found these cool drawings to show how I think these big trees existed. Um, yeah, that's a good version right here. Do 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 do. Found this old map. I was like digging through websites and stuff, and I happened to find this website. This is like a giant um, star fort in a way. I mean, look at the outer wall. I had found this picture too of a giant. Um, this was all in Spanish too. A lot of these books and stuff. I don't know what this is, but I would love to find out. Also, yesterday at the end, man, something with StreamYard, man, wasn't letting me come back in. They were really being, thanks to In the Groove, man. That was a good, I appreciate him coming up yesterday and having that build. It's fire. Somebody come up here. Yeah, maybe for you it wasn't bad, but it was for me yesterday. The topics we were touching on. Yeah, I borg because certain words, I'm borging because I'm not giving it enough time when I scroll down. But it's all good. Nobody said nothing. Nobody said, hey, Chuck, you're Borgin. So I figured there was no issues. The hell? Huh. Advisory Commission to review human cloning. They recommended that cloning humans for reproductive purposes is unsafe and unethical at this time. However, they largely ignored the use of cloning technology to create human embryos solely for research purpose. This year, Panos Zavos of the University of Kentucky and his Italian colleagues, Sabeno Antinori, have begun work with a global consortium to develop human cloning techniques in their efforts to perform human cloning and produce a human child within the next 2 years. Dr. Bridget Boisselier, the director of CloneAid, which is part of the Raelian movement, has stated that they have already been offered substantial sums of money to clone children, and they are certainly working on developing technologies in this country to clone children. Many biotechnology companies look forward to multi-millions of dollars in the hope of developing cures for various diseases from cloning human embryos. They are scientifically and medically using cloning practices, such as cloning of DNA fragments known as molecular cloning, the duplication of somatic cells or stem cells in tissue culture, known as cell cloning, and whole organism or embryo cloning of non-human animals. Human cloning is not about these techniques, nor is it about issues related to fetal tissue research or embryo research. Instead, human cloning, as discussed here, is about the creation of cloned human embryos for reproductive or experimental purposes. Instead of the fertilization of an egg with sperm to conceive an embryo with DNA from male or female, human cloning is asexual reproduction. It is currently accomplished by somatic cell nuclear transfer technology. This is accomplished by introducing the nucleus of a human somatic cell into an egg whose nucleus has been removed or inactivated to produce a living organism with a human genetic constitution. A somatic cell is a diploid cell that is a non-germ cell which has a complete set of chromosomes, which is obtained or derived from a living or deceased human body. There were significant problems with cloning. It took 277 attempts to clone Dolly. Despite success at cloning cows, sheep, goats, pigs, and mice, 95% to 97% of these efforts still end in failure. Yeah, this is probably weak. They're a genetic fuckhole of mistakes. And I think that's what biting the apple is, man. It's cutting these fucking cells and shit. You're not supposed to me, that would be the ultimate disrespect of any creation, no? Was creating a retarded version of yourself, unless it wouldn't be as strong. It'll be like that movie when the guy had a stupid version of him was created. I forgot what movie that was. We had that famous actor. He cloned like 7 of them or something. So it was an old school movie. I think there's a lot. I downloaded this cloning thing because I'm gonna go over it. It's from a government website at that. That's what makes it. It can go either way, man. You know, a lot of this information could be put out to just keep us going in circles, or it could be somewhat true and somewhat bullshit. I don't know. How about they wanted us to think that cloning wasn't easy and Dolly was just a guinea pig cloning? It's easy as one to. Yeah, I think we were probably even cloned as lesser versions of just like cloning a mushroom, right? I think anything could be cloned and copied. Yep. That's what in the Bible is talking about. You know, maybe Adam and Eve will use, even though I can't stand that story. They took a rib from whatever and created, they took the DNA out of the rib, most likely. Like I even think we're in a big genetic farm. Imagine all the fun they were having while they were getting people's sperm. Imagine it wasn't about cutting cells and all that. All they needed was a synthetic womb to be created. A synthetic womb where they can create thousands of versions of the same person for slavery purposes, right? Now they got their synthetic womb. They got sperm from fucking people who want to jerk off into a cup and make money off of it. Yeah, Wendy Williams looked like she's fucking breaking down. They're definitely keeping us in this area for a reason. I bet you outside of here, it's probably beautiful than ever, man. There's probably still these big trees. There's probably giants still living. We're kept in this fucking pit of hell. Okay, it won't be enchanting for long when these people are finished with it. I try to be grateful, but in my life there ain't much to be grateful for. You got time to come up, Marcel? How's that garden going? Let me see if anyone sent me anything to that. Wonder how fucking Dean's doing. He hasn't been by in a while. Hopefully he's all good. Man, what's up with Renegade, bro? Fuck is this? Can I have your pic? How do people get my fucking account here? We got weird people fucking. This is wild, man. I don't never put my Telegram thing anywhere. That's the one private thing I have. And yet, somehow, people end up getting it. I gotta check all my old videos to make sure that thing is not in any description. Um, Since no one's coming up, I got to do this, I guess. The fuck? Do 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 do. Not necessarily. People repeat things sometimes, on YouTube especially. I used to think that myself, but then I forget. New people might come along. I repeat myself. You know, I've had people talk shit and say I'm looping or this and that. When people are just be miserable, they'll say anything to push people's buttons because they probably are recording to try to get me to react a certain way. But it always fails. I'm not saying you, Jay Heighten. I'm just saying in general. That whole looping thing, you know, like I said before, man, if you're mastering something, you're going to loop. So you get it to a mastery point. But I try not to loop. But what I also realize is, like I said, sometimes people ain't as advanced as me. They haven't looked into things as deep. Sometimes people's minds are shallow because they have a ceiling or an anchor. I'll use those words. Or they're being, I don't know what other word to use. Dom was like something about anchor yesterday. I don't remember what he said. I'll have to go look. I'm gonna put this video up, play it, and then I'll probably jump out of here because it looks like no one's gonna come up, and I'm not gonna sit here and put on a clown hat and dance around. Come on, man. Why does this take so long? I was watching Bro Sanchez. He had a very good live stream the other day when he brought up, he was showing how the energy, the waters above are the energy, just like I was talking about with Joe King the other day. When I showed the fountain, and I was explaining to Joe King that these Titan trees, however the water is being sucked up to the top of these tree stumps or mounds or whatever, I don't think it's most likely not natural. Or maybe it is. Maybe, you know, but there's just so much about this place, like especially the waters that come over the ice wall. That water isn't freezing. Where is it coming from? I think this place is just infinite when it cycles the energy in the waters. Yeah, I know, Marcel. It's hard to please everybody, man. That's one thing I've learned since having a channel is you can't please everyone. I've tried to accommodate it. It's just impossible, man. Oh boy, here we go. I gotta search for this video. Fucking YouTube, man. Bruh. Bruh. Where the fuck is this video? I'll be lucky if it lets me upload it. I might have to go break it up into little pieces. It's wild shit, man. What? Bro. I'm about to fucking flip out. It's fucking bullshit. Playing these fucking games. Audio source. What up, Joe King? the world, don't ask me for shit. Because everything you get, you got to work hard for it. Remembers that song? Method Man and Biggie Wiggy, Biggie Smalls. People be sweating that dude like he was a serious lyricist. Like, uh-oh. I don't get this, but we'll see. Yo, are you fucking kidding me? Is this a joke of some sort? It's the shit I'm talking about. Is Watcher running free or something like that, and I've been sub to him for years, and I realized, I'm like, damn, I seen him in my feed yesterday, and then that's when I realized YouTube just don't. You could put the bell on, and their videos still don't show up, because YouTube be just playing with people. Yeah, but what is going on here? I want this. Here we go. Biggie is overrated. Like, that's how, like, you know, when people give their top 5 and stuff, it's always Biggie and Pac, and that's how I know, like, that should be, like, they tell them to say that. Even Pac. Pac had good music, don't get me wrong, but he wasn't no lyrical master. People like Killer Priest or Method Man or shit. People want to get lyrical. I put people like Inspect the Deck or Keith Murray in there. People forget about Keith Murray. People used to get on Keith Murray because he would use like supercalifragilistic stuff like that, and they'd be like, "Man, he's always using big words." Peace, 3 fingers, and people would be like, "Well, fucking go to school and learn, right?" It's funny. To me, hip hop was never about how many albums you're fucking selling. Like, who gives a fuck? The shittiest rapper sells millions of albums because they push that garbage, right? It was about lyrical skills. And they don't say anything about album sales. Jay-Z is trash when it comes to lyricism, to me, my opinion. And he sells all these albums. Look, DMX was a lyricist, and he sold way more than fucking Jay-Z, and he don't even get credit. DMX's first 3 albums, didn't he go back to back to back or something like that? And they all went diamond or some shit. 10 times platinum, which is diamond. if they want. Like, I think DMX can battle people with album sales and lyrics. But people used to, I remember in like 2002 and 3 in them years, people like, Wu-Tang fell off, man. They're trash. They don't even sell albums. And I'd be like, bro, hip hop ain't about selling albums. It's not about who sold the most. You could be, there's people that are so lyrical out there and they're just underground. And they don't go, well, they actually, if you're independent, you don't need to sell. Damn. You don't need to sell that large amount to be rich, because when you're, for the most part, if you're independent, you're getting all the money almost. You know, you want to sign to a label and get like 10 cents a fucking album, go ahead. All right, this is getting out of hand here. Be sitting here forever waiting for this thing to upload. Damn, I don't feel love today, man. This is gonna piss me off. There we go. Yeah, you shouldn't have to suck dick and choke on balls to fucking get a record deal. But I heard that's what most of them rappers do. I would rather be independent, man. Like, even when I was younger, I used to tell my friend I'm gonna be a rapper. And he'd be like, I didn't know about loopholes and all. I mean, not loopholes, but bullshit to get to the top. I thought if you were nice, you would get signed. But I guess my friend was right. Growing up. About time. Your mother. Of course. Damn it. Anyway. I'm gonna upload this video and then I gotta break it down, unfortunately, into fucking 4 parts because stupid StreamYard only lets you upload a fucking fragment worth of video unless you pay them $700 a month, which I refuse. Yeah, it is disgusting. Better off fucking staying independent. No, I didn't hear that. When was that? Alright. 2 more videos. I had to cut a 12-minute fucking video into 4. Jesus Christ. Bro Sanchez has been having good builds lately. Shout out to Bro, man. Sometimes I think people watch my shit and then they copy or see what I'm talking about and then they go and talk about it. But maybe they're not copying me. Maybe they just agree or feel the same way I do. Which is a good thing. It was good to see Bro talking about what I had just talked about that morning. I thought you were talking about Prodigy and Mobb Deep. Hold on.
Yeah. Peace out. No love today, man. I feel very unloved in today's live stream. I should have kept fucking reading. That's what I should have did. That's what I should have did. I gotta stop worrying about everyone else. Just do me. Alright. Let's see what happens here. What the fuck is going on, man? StreamYard, you're really getting on my nerves today. God. I don't even understand why it takes so long to upload a video to StreamYard. Holy shit. Companies are always uploading, you know? They'll send you that warning to upload. Well, ever since they've been doing that, my phone is fucked. It don't my phone, so it'll break. That's my year anniversary present with this phone company. They'll send shit to fuck your phone over, so then you can go buy another one. Fires me up, man. I'm sick and tired of a lot of shit. Alright, last one. Thank God. Now, let me see if this video uploaded before my fucking phone dies. This is wild, man. You know what? I got a better idea.
Fuck all that uploading and waste of time. Do this shit right. How this guy is about to break it down. Much respect to Running Free. I think it's watch it, something Running Free. Always respect your elders. Listen to the wisdom this man drops.
Is that you always push me to defend those I've been talking about. When it comes to the government, when it comes to justice, when it comes to the law of the land, it's supposed to be the Constitution. Now they're saying today, well, Trump was convicted under the Constitution, I guess, because they claim it was 34 felonies. That has to be under the Constitution. That's under federal law, not state law. You can't have a state law be carried out in a state courtroom if it became a felony. That's obstruction of justice. Sorry, folks. That's a fact. If you don't know nothing about the law, then you shouldn't talk about it. Well, I know about the law. If it's a felony, you should be in a federal courtroom, not a state-controlled courtroom. Never. It's the wrong jurisdiction to start off with. So you guys make me defend Trump, which I still haven't heard a crime that he committed. That if he committed it, then every other billionaire on this dirt has committed the same crimes. And 34 felonies they should all be charged with then. Because you haven't shown me no crimes yet. And then America comes up with this. Oh, well, we're going to finally prosecute Biden. Hunter. Now, I know this is the first trial. I know this is the first trial because they was going to give him a big wipe his whole, all of it off in a real quick scam that they had going until a judge caught it and stopped it. Now, Hunter Biden, they claim, committed 3 felonies when he bought and owned a gun. 3 felonies. And the fact that you guys are making me defend Hunter Biden just turns my stomach. Turns my stomach that this even has to be brought up. But I'm the dumbass hillbilly wearing a cowboy hat. Under the laws of the Constitution, they can make changes to
So basically, what he's saying is he made a lot of good points with the Trump trial. It's supposed to be in a federal court, not state. And I also heard Citizen Man bring that up. And like Faceplant said, man, it's all theater. These people are fucking, they know, 88% of the people don't know law. These people blatantly do stuff in our face because they know most people don't know or don't care. That's why America's in the state it is. Like, now I respect the military and the young men and women that think they're defending our country when they're defending politicians' war. But fuck, all my batteries are dying. Everything's fucked. Fine. What the hell? Did I put this? Where the fuck? I have to do it this way. I will have to do it this way. Here we go. Oh, well, that makes fucking sense now, don't it? Ah. Yeah, a lot of this, I don't know. I do reading because I'm interested in a lot of stuff, but this whole YouTube world, man, people ain't about coming together and making a change. Most people are about just talking shit about each other, fucking talking shit about the next man or woman. I used to have such good live streams at my channel where people would come, and now people barely come because this one don't like this one, that one don't like that one. Well, I don't like what this person does, and I don't like that, and all that interferes with people coming together to have a beautiful stream. It's a fucking joke, man. It pisses me off because there's so many good people that come through. And I hate to name names, but there's certain people I like when they come through, but they don't even come by because of whatever reason. They either can't pull me to the side and speak to me, or they rather talk shit behind my back. I don't know what it is, man. But as far as having good streams, that's like come to a crashing end. California has the tallest and largest trees on Earth, and old of the oldest, above the Hyperion is the tallest tree in the world, a redwood, 380.1 feet tall, in the National Redwood Forest. Left the largest tree by volume in General Sherman, a giant sequoia in Sequoia National Park. Below, the oldest in North America is 5,000 years old, a bristlecone pine in Inyo National Forest. But we will never know what trees were lost in the 1800s. In 1853, felling of the mammoth tree generated huge fanfare. Above, a cotillion dance. Huh. What the fuck is going on? Here we go. Let's see. We'll find that tree that was cut down in Florida to extinction. Yeah, I know. I'm hoping to make a trip to Tennessee next month. shit. Anyway, fuck it. I guess no one's coming up. Probably. Maybe I'll go live later or something. Fuck it. I'm not gonna. I appreciate everyone who came through. I guess today was an exciting. Yeah, that's what I'm going to Tennessee next month. Maybe I might never come back to Connecticut, but we'll see what happens. I'm just sick and tired of life in general. I need a new something. And there's some beautiful people in Tennessee that are willing to basically give me a new start. That's how I'm looking at it. Never in my life has anyone ever, for the most part, as I could think, we grew up in Stamford. I hate Connecticut for the most part. I'm tired of it. 43 years. I lived in New Haven, Bridgeport. Well, I was locked up in Bridgeport, New Haven, as a youth for 2 years. And living in New Haven was pretty dope. But as far as New Britain and Hartford, I'm just tired of Connecticut. The taxes are high. Everything is just pointless here in Connecticut. Just a bunch of greedy fucking people. The politics are shot in Connecticut. The Second Amendment, like, imagine having to register your bulletproof vest to protect yourself. Ever since that incident happened in Connecticut, they used that incident to implement more laws against the people who can legally carry. That's what's crazy. These gun laws are going after people who can legally carry. You think these laws are going to stop people from carrying illegally? No, they don't give a fuck about them laws. The Second Amendment should be the right to carry, period. You shouldn't have, like, all these extensions off the law. You know, you have a right to carry, but, you know, there's 52 other states. Like, you shouldn't have to, like, travel state to state and have to, like, take your gun off your waist and put it in the trunk, and then you have to. Every state has its own laws, and then probably every city or town within that. So it's just a headache and bullshit, man. Like the guy was saying when I played the video, the original Constitution is gone. It's probably been, just like the Bible, rewritten, took stuff out. There's probably stuff in the original Constitution that could put these people in prison right this second. These people need to go to prison. Well, I gotta change the title. I thought it was going to be an open panel. That's why I put that. And when I usually have an open panel, it's open topic. But people have just been coming up. I hear all sorts of excuses of why people don't come up. It's mostly about arguments and whatever. I don't even know why I give a fuck. It's a lose-lose situation, man. If you put your foot down, you're an asshole. If you let shit slide, you're an asshole. Right? You can't never win. I don't know. Maybe I'll go live later. Who the fuck knows what the future will bring.